What's up, guys? It's Gary. So hopefully I didn't throw my channel down the drain with those few Mercedes videos that nobody watched. Well, in this video, we are going to take this Husqvarna completely stock lawn tractor and make it a lot cooler. We are just going to do real basic upgrades, basic changes, nothing too crazy. We're not extending the frame. There's going to be minimal welding involved. There will probably be some. And if all goes to plan, the goal is to retain the mower deck and actually mow my lawn with it when I'm done. And yeah, the lawn is looking pretty bad, so I don't really feel like using the push mower. So follow along with me. Let's see how much cooler we can make this thing pretty much from start to finish. Now this is the point where I stop and I look and I say, what the heck am I doing? I could have sold this thing for like 300 bucks. Right now is probably the dumbest and most pointless thing that I'm going to do, but it's actually kind of more about getting it to look cooler than anything, and that is putting the axle forward. So not only that, the wheels and tires we're going to throw on the front of this will probably not clear the mower deck, so that's going to be necessary. So I removed the steering drag link and the tie rod, and what we're going to do now is there's just... So by the way, the front deck linkage, I realized, is actually part of this axle bracket, this pivot bracket. So we're just going to go with a straight mount to the front, and we can leave this pivot bracket. That single bolt right through the center of the axle is all we need to remove, as well as, for now, we need to remove the four bolts for the front plate. That is separate from the back plate, and then that'll allow us to get our axle out of there. We'll put that plate back on since it reinforces the mower deck linkage. Doesn't matter. So let's just think about this for a minute. This thing is a tractor, right? It's going to be mowing the lawn. It's not necessarily a speed machine, not really an off-road machine either, but as a tractor, the reason why they have a pivoting axle, I think because it has an open rear differential typically. On a lawnmower, like a real tractor has a pivoting axle, but they also have individual brakes on like full-size real tractors. So you can brake an inside wheel, and that with an open differential gives you a tighter turning radius. Also means you don't get stuck as easily because you can brake the wheel that's spinning. Now on a regular lawnmower, you just have an open differential, and if you're pivoting, it allows for more traction on both of those wheels. If it's got a solid axle and you get on like an off-camber situation, it might just want to spin the inside tire. So now I'm really considering, I have this just mocked up into place. I do have one of the bolts. I probably have another one. So if I have another one, we're good. I don't feel like going to the store and buying a bolt. This is what I use to secure the axle onto my other tractor, but I also reinforced behind here. And like I said, you got to weld up these seams as well. But we could, and either way, we're going to have to reinforce this front frame. We could just make it pivot. Now, in order to make it pivot and run it just off of the single front middle hole here, not only do we have to reinforce the frame at the back, but we also have to have something coming forward and tying it in over here. We can't just have it single shear, like pivoting off the metal like that. It has to be sandwiched. So it makes it a bit more complicated, and it also kind of depends on what I have to do that with. Of course, anything's possible with the welder, so we'll figure that out. I found our frame reinforcement. It's actually the front part of the exact same frame that I cut off of the other project. And that's just going to double our thickness on the front of this frame. I'll be damned if that's not strong. We're of course still going to have to, if we want it to pivot, we're still going to have to run something at the front to tie around that axle. I'll be dipset purple titty bird gang if that's not going to work. Double the thickness, double the strength. So, basically going to be like that, and that bushing is going to allow it to pivot. Alright, check it out, you can see where I'm going. So, this is a transaxle mount that bolted to the rear of the Murray frame that I actually have cut up and am using for another project. There's obviously two of those since it's a transaxle mount. So I took the other one, I chopped off this bit, so it's just that. We drilled another hole in the center. That's going to go like that, and it's going to be a bolt-on affair. I could weld it, I'm not sure, but I think I'm just going to bolt it on. I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to do this yet. Alright, so check it out. In my usual fashion, without measuring anything, I just had a vision for what I was doing and I cut. And it didn't quite work out. So this piece we're liking. This was sort of the other side of that, and I was thinking I would just cut that off of there and it would weld right there and then bolt. Well, look, that doesn't happen. Not with where I put this hole. I could have put this hole a little bit lower and it would have worked out, but I didn't do that. I didn't think about that far ahead. However, I just got this piece off of another piece of the Murray frame. Don't even ask me what this was for. But would you look at that fitment? I mean, is that unbelievable or what? So in this case, what I'm going to end up doing is I think I'm just going to weld this guy and weld this guy all to the frame. And the axle will be able to drop right out of there. But we're on to something now. I'm loving it. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. By the way, I did not expect to be putting this much work into the front axle. I thought I was just going to mount it straight to the frame, but I couldn't just do the same thing I always do, so we're going to do this. The world is a tack weld. Make it go together, finish welding it later. It is good. Alright. Alright. I'm good with that. It's bloody fine with me. Although I wonder the fact that it's only like this and not fully squared off like it was on that. That might be a problem. Like, you know what I mean? This still might just... I don't know. What I was just saying doesn't really make sense. It shouldn't pull away because it's actually bolted through the frame itself. So it's really bolted to the frame. That's just another extra support. So I think this should all be fine. Alright, like I said before, there's going to be some different wheels and tires going on this. In order to actually get those wheels, which are rear wheels, to work on these spindles, the only way to secure them, because they're so much wider out the hub, is going to be to probably weld, well, it's going to be to weld bolts to the J-spindle spindles, just like I did on my other one. So, I don't actually want to just yet sacrifice the original spindles off of this tractor, because they're in really good shape. I may use them eventually to build custom spindles with trailer hubs on my hot rod tractor. But I don't know. Right now I want to at least be able to put these back on if I can. So I had these other ones. I think they're for a Murray. I honestly don't even know what they're for. They have a totally different, they cotter pin instead of an E-clip. Tie rods at the front instead of the back, but the steering is still in roughly the same spot. The hubs, the spindle part of it, is actually longer, which is great. I don't know for sure. I don't think that's going to be long enough still. Probably going to have to weld bolts to it. But again, these are kind of just crappy ones that I had laying around. They're in really, actually kind of rough condition. You can see how they're all worn down. But since this thing's not going to be a high-speed machine, it's going to be more of a fun lawnmower, I'm not too concerned about that. I'd rather sacrifice and weld to these than the nice ones. But the cool thing is, it looks like the camber's not completely off. Maybe there might be a bit of positive camber. I don't know. It's hard to tell right now. Not too big a deal. Again, we're not going around a racetrack. But here's the thing I'm about to find out. Will the original tie rod, which is an unusual tie rod, I've not seen one like that, will that actually go on here and give us some sort of an alignment? This is not adjustable. Now, if it doesn't work out for us, I may have some parts to make an adjustable tie rod end for that, or for something else. I'll just probably leave that one alone. So I'm about to put it on there and see where we're at. Well, it's less of a problem, but it's still, actually, yeah, no, that's not going to work, I don't think. Definitely a little bent. See how they're bent down? So that's going to create some positive camber. And it's hard to tell, but this is steered a little bit that way. That one's actually pretty straight. Let's see. If we get them like, yeah, there's very little toe in. The toe is really close. And again, for a lawnmower, toe in is fine. It's actually what you want. The positive camber might look funny, but it's not really going to affect it if we're not really trying to go fast. So I'm basically going to try to mock up the wheels and see where we're at with it. Alright, I know we're starting to fight the sun to try to get a good view, and I don't have a whole lot of room in here either. So here's the wheel and tire combo we're putting on there. Now, you might recognize these if you watched the video from like 6 months ago, getting the old custom hot rod tractor deal, whatever you want to call it, out of the backyard and getting it running. These were on the front of it in that video. Until I did the trailer wheels, these were what I had on the front. Now these are rear wheels. They're actually like the original rear wheels, same that are on this basically. 8-inch diameter wheel, made for a 3/4 inch keyed axle. Front spindles are 3/4 inch. Now, I used to run these real fast on the road with just grease on the spindle, metal on metal. I don't recommend you do that. But again, we're just going to be going slow with this thing. Well, faster than a lawnmower, hopefully, but here's the question. It looks like they might actually work without extending the hubs. Yeah, they will. Only thing is, I won't get much width out of them. I was hoping, that's the other reason why I like to weld bolts to them, is because it gets your track width way out there. The other one on too. So basically, this is going to be an off-road lawnmower. Like literally, it's going to mow lawns and it can go off-road. Once we get the garden tractor tires on the back, it'll really start looking more like a tractor. I'd rather not, if I don't have to, weld any bolts to the outside of these. And as you can see, it's not actually necessary right now. Now on the Craftsman spindles, it was 100% necessary because you could see how much shorter they are. So you physically could not run a rear wheel on them without extending them. There was no way to secure the wheel onto there. So that's why I have bolts welded to them on my other machine. In this case, we got enough room for like probably a solid inch of spacer. So we'll be able to push the wheel out another inch from where it is, which is perfect. It already clears, but it'll be a little bit better like that. And then with the garden tractor wheels that we got going on the back, and we are going to get those on here shortly, we will see how they fit as is. Because as you can see, these particular garden tractor wheels, they have a really severe offset, which is awesome. See how much offset there is? That hub is like really close to that side. They're super deep dish. Now, if I have to, I will run a 1-inch or a 2-inch spacer on there. We'll see what we want to do. Kind of just to get the look and to get the room that I want in between the tires. I believe these are actually off of a wheel horse. These are the more typical garden tractor wheels that I'm used to, which would be on like a Craftsman or a Husqvarna tractor. And they have a totally different offset. You can see how much, they're closer to a 0 offset. They're not quite 0. They're definitely deeper dish on this side, but you can see how much further in that wheel face, that hub face is compared to that one. Oh wow, yeah, the toe is actually worse than I thought. Man, is it bad? Yeah, it is. It might still be drivable, and it definitely has positive camber. That does not look right at all. Alright, well, one thing I realized I actually never explained was what we are doing for the rear wheels, and of course I did just go over what the wheels are, these garden tractor wheels. The hubs are exactly like on my hot rod tractor. Actually, to tell you the truth, I stole them off of that until I get another set. We're just using what's on that one. So, that is a 3/4 inch keyed axle hub. This actually is spec'd. You can find these online for sale new for a Husqvarna. If you look up 5-lug Husqvarna hubs, this is most likely what's going to pop up. 5 on 4.5 is the bolt pattern for a garden tractor wheel. So 3/4 keyed fits onto your almost any, I mean, the light duty Husqvarna, or I should say light duty hydrostatic transaxles, light duty manual transaxles have a 3/4 axle. So also here you see I did decide to go with the 1-inch spacer on these. There was a limitation because of that bracket on either side of the deck as to how far out I could space these. Plus with these extreme offset wheels, it's really perfect with the 1-inch spacer. And yeah, so let's get these things on and then we'll move on to some other things. Always relocate them, but you know what? I might be able to get away with the 1-inch spacer. And I feel like that'd be better than no spacer at all. I'm gonna try it. Well, it's amazing what just a wheel and tire change will do. And of course, I did change the length of the front with the wheelbase, with the axle out there. But going from a 20 by 10 by 8 in the rear to a 23 by 850 by 12, that plus having the spacers on it and getting a tremendously wider track width. And of course, we're still going to do some more back here. We're probably going to lower the seat down, figure out some more in the middle. Don't know what I'm doing yet there. The amazing thing to me is it really doesn't look, it looks like it's still riding pretty even. I mean, look at that. My ride height with the taller tires in the front and actually putting the axle where I did worked out pretty good. It's not on even ground, it's kind of on a hill, but it definitely looks like it's even. Of course, I'm going to have to address, well, I don't know if I'm even going to worry about the whole like positive camber thing. I can't really fix because those are just the way those spindles are. But the toe, I'm going to have to just make a tie rod, I think, or modify this one. I have another tie rod from the other, back before I had the Heim joints. I got a tie rod that might work on it. But I'm pretty happy where we're going. And the ride height is going to be higher. It is higher a little bit, so we may have to adjust the deck to get the deck low enough to mow the grass. But dude, this thing's going to be pretty sick. That gives you a better idea of the front axle movement, which is normally right up underneath there. Actually, yeah, right where the deck goes, you can see where the axle was. Now, I'm not planning on running this hood. I'm just throwing it on there just to show you kind of where we're going, what it's going to look like. Alright, right now I really need to seriously think about what the end goal for this machine is. So, just removing the fenders alone, and I have an idea for some fenders, I have some parts to make that happen. Just doing that, though, did lower the seat. That lowers the seat. Obviously, the fuel tank was right there, so that lowers the seat a lot. What we're going to do for a fuel tank, I'm not even sure yet. So that's kind of like my second, that's just like another thought that I'm not even thinking of. But right now, I'm not too worried about that. What I'm getting at is, how much do we just say this is a tractor? And how much do we kind of go, well, or you could take the deck off of it and go off-roading, or you could leave the deck on it and go off-roading and do some off-road mowing. I mean, like, what is the end use case for such a strange vehicle? I mean, I'm also just kind of building it to look cool more than anything. And I still want it to be fun and, like, interesting to drive around on when I'm mowing the lawns. You know, like putting the axle out here was completely unnecessary, but it makes it look cooler. Putting the off-road tires on it, completely unnecessary, but it looks cooler. The taller rear tires are going to make it go faster. And I don't know how that hydrostatic is going to react to having a different engine pulley size, but we are going to try it and see what happens. So here's where I'm at. Do I go ahead and cut the frame lower at the back to lower the seat? And I'm not talking about like I did on my current setup on the other hot rod tractor. On that one, this is all completely lowered down to the frame height. Can't do that with leaving the stock linkages and everything. Now, my original hot rod tractor, like before I did all that extra work to it, it was still the stock rear frame, and it was just cut down to the point that it could be to retain the linkage, because even though this is a hydro, it has the exact same shifter linkage. So I'm thinking, do I do that? Do I want to lower the seat? Well, if I do that, I definitely have to do something with the steering, because even with the seat in that position, the steering wheel, if I leave it here, is ridiculously tall. If I put it down here, it's like really far out in front of me. But it also, should I have the steering like should I do go-kart steering on it? I have that extra steering shaft over there, which I could borrow for now. So I don't know. I mean, you know, I may even swap this to a manual in the future and may make it a ridiculously fast lawnmower. So having it be controllable by sitting real low and having a go-kart steering and everything. Then it comes to the middle part of the thing. Like, what do I do about this? I sit on it right now, and I already have a couple of running boards I can use. But having my feet around that, straddling it, doesn't feel right to me, because I'm used to having that's completely gone on my other build, and I have my feet right on the frame. It feels really good like that. Feet straight out in front of me. This, having it going around that, just doesn't feel right. However, the deck lift mechanism is on here. So there's really no, not only that, I don't know if you can see, it's pretty dark. So not only that, it goes right through there, and it's all like really just part of that mechanism. I mean, the parking brake I don't really care about as much, but that's there. So without major modification, there's no way that I don't even know what I would do. I'd have to really, it'd be like probably way more time involved than is worth. If I want to actually remove all of this like I did on my other one, put my feet out here like it's a go-kart, and then we're starting to get into just, it's no longer a lawn tractor that's going to mow the lawn situation territory. So again, what is this machine going to do besides look cool? What should we do? Man, I just sit here and talk. Typically, I'm talking to myself like this anyway, so I figured I'd just pull out the camera and we would talk about it together. Well, I am going to stare at it on my own for a while and kind of think about it and figure it out. There we are. Needs a little refining, but now she's about as low as the other one used to be. So the video that's actually getting all the views right now is the video of the old hot rod tractor before it was really as hot rod as it is now. And in that video, this is about where the seat was in that one. Maybe a little bit lower, but I'm trying to retain all of the shifting mechanism and everything. In fact, this may be exactly how low it was on the other one. All right, here's where I explain that we are running into a time crunch. It is literally Saturday afternoon, and I'm still filming, and we're still at this point in the build. The video's got to be out tomorrow morning, or at least tomorrow afternoon. I really do want to run this original seat, just because it is quite obviously way more comfortable than that. Because I'm actually going to be riding around on this thing mowing a lawn. It's not like I'm just hopping on it to hurt my ass and have some fun. But for the case of making this thing run and drive as soon as I can, we're just throwing this guy on here. There's already an existing hole in the frame, so I'm just bolting that. Now this is almost exactly in the same position that I had it on my other build before I did the whole entire rear frame extension. So we just need to drill the hole on this side, and that guy will be bolted on there. We'll get the steering figured out. I'm going to pretty much just tack everything in place with the steering so that if I get that other seat on there and the steering's way in the wrong spot, I can always kind of change that up. And if you're wondering what we're doing about floorboards, I got these, well, you're just going to have to use your imagination. I have these Agway floorboards that are going to either bolt right onto the frame there, or they might be standing off the frame a little bit. And I got fenders that match it. Those are going to go on too. Now, will all of that get on here for this stage of the build? I don't know yet. We're going to find out. I really wanted this to be a one video build, but it ain't happening. This is going to be a multi-part deal. The next thing I'm going to deal with here is actually dropping the steering. I'm going to run the stock steering wheel. Not a big fan of the stock steering wheel, but it is bigger than this go-kart wheel that I have, and I like a big diameter steering wheel. Plus, it kind of is cool to have, I like the badge, it's kind of cool to have just this still on there to show like that's what it originally was. And it reminds me of like a 90s, I want to say it reminds me of a 90s European car, but actually no, it kind of looks like a 90s Toyota steering wheel or something. So we're going to stick with that wheel. That simplifies actually connecting the steering wheel to here. And then what we got to do is get the angle right and everything lined up where we want it. Okay, I admit I did a couple of things while you weren't looking. We got onto the steering drop here. Cut this guy off of here, okay? Nice bushing here still. So this part unbolts. Just move this out of the way so we can take a look. What else I did, which is I chopped our steering column down, and on these steering columns there's a smaller bit right here, and then I went and I grinded that to be flat on either side so it fits in here perfectly. And this I'm still going to cut. I'm not sure where I'm going to cut this yet. Is we're just going to use the original column, which of course I got to cut that shorter as well. And it's going to end up, you know, somewhere in that neighborhood. I'm not sure yet. The front, but we got the exact same material because this was from an old drag link. We cut that to the right length. Cut the original drag link. So that guy will be like that. We'll weld that in place. Just got to chamfer the edges on that. And that will just weld in place. That's exactly how I did it on my other one. And then we'll have steering. Will it actually steer properly? Will it actually turn? That's kind of still up in the air because of the geometry of this front spindles and everything. But we're on to something. I did end up changing. I took that the original tie rod. I took that and I replaced it with this old janky threaded rod tie rod that what is that? Oh, that my friend made a long time ago and had on one of his off-road mowers. it always worked for me. I actually had this on my hot rod tractor for a long time, and I went 55 miles an hour down the road with this on there. So this will be fine for what we're doing with this machine. It's still not the greatest, and it's basically at its maximum. It's at its maximum adjustment to allow for the toe, and it's still maybe a slight toe in on it, but it appears that it's probably going to drive. Alright, so let me show you where I'm at before I run away with this project and you don't get to see any of the things I'm doing. So, we got the steering shaft with the universal joint cut to a certain length. I got the angle about figured out, and I had this piece of old go-kart frame that I was going to use to sleeve these together. Now I do have more of this, so I'm still going to do that. But what I figured out is I could use it. This fits like almost perfectly on this steering column. That this is actually going to be my steering column support, because frankly you don't really need a bearing. I mean, this is as bearing as it gets, and that's a really good tight fit right there. Not too tight, but perfect. This thing here that I was going to mount right here, frankly, it's not going to work. I mean, I kind of figured it might work, or I figured it might not work, but I was kind of hoping it would. Honestly, with the universal joint on there, this thing's going to be floppy as hell. So we're just going to ditch that entirely. We are going to get our length figured out. So I already figured out, I think I'm going to cut like 2 inches off of this. I got my angle just about figured out. I could always adjust that a little bit more, but really the angle and the length of the column all have to come into play. And like I was saying, everything has to do with everything else. So getting this dimension correct is also dependent on getting this dimension correct. Each one depends on the other. So, in other words, the shorter we make it, probably the lower we'd want it, and the longer we make it, the higher we'd want it, I think. So, if I'm just to butt the two columns up together like that, that's obviously way too close to me. But I do like it kind of close. So I'm probably going to, like I said, cut about 2 inches off of that other piece, and I'm probably going to probably get this thing to be right about here. And I might even be able to make it so that my column mount system here could be adjustable. That would be kind of cool. If I make that adjustable, then I could, when I put the other seat on, I could adjust the height, or a big person could adjust the height. Right now, a big person could fit this easy. I mean, I'm stretched fully out to engage the clutch. And, yeah, so can't actually see anything. Definitely is a little bit close, but I played around with it a lot and I decided that was where it needed to be. Race car spec, right up near you. Now, getting in and out of it's definitely going to be a challenge, but I also just had an idea. As I did that, I realized I could even make like a separating pinnable or something deal where I could actually clink, pop this baby out of the way, clink, you know, pop it in place, kind of like a quick release column, or even like, and also on top of that, like I said, I could also make the column adjustable, but we're far from that point at this stage of the game, so we are running out of daylight quick, and I am really far from where I want to be with this thing today. And so as the day began to end, I ran out of daylight and I ran out of time. You know, I really thought this was going to be a one-shot deal video, a 50-minute, hour-long video, and you were going to see me mowing the lawn at 10 miles an hour at the end of the video. But we are going to have to come back for another episode and finish this thing off and do exactly all the things that I want to do to it. So let me just show you here at the end what I ended up doing, or where I'm going with the steering. I'm still not even done with that. A couple things that I actually changed with the original thing that I said I was going to do. and then we will conclude the video for now. You know, as I was editing the video, I realized I kind of went a little bit further with what I was doing, and I did not explain almost any of it or film any of it. So, just to show you what I have done here and where we're going, I actually cut this. I had a piece of steel pipe. Man, it really doesn't want to focus with that lighting. I had a piece of steel pipe that I cut to the exact length from there to there. I had these nylon washers. Not necessarily needed, but I thought that would be a nice touch. They fit the shaft absolutely perfectly. A couple nylon washers. I ground the pipe to get the fitment perfect once this was fit on here. Of course, I grinded it slightly too much, so I added this washer as well, and it is actually perfect. There's like basically no play, but it has a nice smooth, and that'll be a nice steering column. And what we're going to end up doing is welding. Now, I'm not even sure how far I'm going with it yet. This is just, you know, my idea for now is I was going to weld this to that member there and probably have some sort of support maybe on the bottom and the sides. Not sure. However, I was also considering how I can make it adjustable up and down for height for different people to get on it. So really, this is where we're at right now. I just wanted to show that. Let's conclude this video. So, I'm going to have to tell you, this is where we got to stop. I never did get the steering connected up here, but that's a quick job. The engine's still not connected. I mean, I failed because I really wanted to get this thing done. I thought for sure I could get, well, I could have gotten it done. I didn't work on it 100% throughout the week. So I was hoping to have this thing actually mowing the lawn completely, you know, looking amazing and driving and everything for this video. But it's going to have to be another part. So I don't know if I'm going to try to get a video out midweek, because I really want to get more videos out, but I'm not even going to tell you I'm going to get more videos out, because then you're just going to be looking for them and then they're not going to be there. So definitely by next weekend at the very latest, there will be the second part. What are we still going to do? What do we got to do in the second part? A lot. So, cosmetically mostly, I want to get the fenders and the running boards on. I got to figure out a fuel tank. I got to complete this column mount, which is not just going to be here. There's going to be some support more than that. We got a hood that's going to go on it. Old GMC, old Sears Suburban hood is going to go on this. And I also have an exhaust idea as well, but that'll all have to wait until next week, until we can get back on this thing. And by then, the grass is going to be even more ridiculous, but I may even just have to hit some of it in the front with a push mower. I don't know, it's kind of looking pretty bad, but I definitely want to save some of it. But yeah, if I have to, I can just go down on the other property over there and test it out over there. So, that's going to be it for this one. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoy this kind of stuff, building stuff out of junk for no reason whatsoever, just for your entertainment, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, comment down below, tell me what you would do differently, and tell me what you think. Was this a complete waste of time, turning a perfectly working lawnmower into a lawnmower that just looks cooler and might go a little faster and be a little bit more fun? I think it's fun, so for me, we're definitely worth it. Yeah, so like, subscribe, comment. I said that already. Thank you guys who are subscribed, and thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time.